Okay, this afternoon, and I don't have an agenda in front of me, but I assume one of the first things is minutes of the last meeting. So is there a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting?
So moved.
Seconded.
Second moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, passed. The next item is a presentation.
Yeah, I would just say good afternoon again to everybody, and thank you to our staff that is joining us for the presentation this afternoon for extending their day a little bit so that we can hear more about preschool efforts in the district. This is an area we're super proud of. It's been a big part of our work the last several years. You guys have heard me say several times there's probably not a more important experience we can provide to our students than early childhood education, a high quality early childhood education experience. And so a lot of the people in the room deserve a lot of credit for that work and for making that happen. And so I'm looking forward to what they have to share tonight. And of course we'll be happy to take questions after they present and any feedback you have. But this is a big improvement effort for us and one that I think we've seen a lot of success in. So with that, I'll turn it over to Liza and she'll get us rolling.
Yeah, good afternoon. I share, Matt's same sentiment, especially to our teachers that are extending their day and coming. They will take a couple slides in the latter part, but just wanted to take a real quick minute to introduce you to who we have here. Christy Yetley is our new coordinator of preschool. She joined us last year from Greenwood AEA, where she was providing our preschool teacher support from Greenwood AEA, and we snagged her to be a part of our district, and she leads the awesome work with me in regards to preschool. I can keep introducing you guys for you, but I can also let you do that.
Okay, I would love to. My name is Michelle Benninga. I am the preschool teacher at Longfellow Elementary.
I am Carrie Ferris, and I am the preschool teacher at Lemmy Elementary.
Me? Oh, I'm David Briggs, the principal here at Penn, not a preschool teacher.
I'm Amber Warnemont, the full-day preschool teacher at Penn. I'm Molly Nicholson, and I teach AM PM preschool here at Penn.
I'm Marcy Delnica, and I'm one of the preschool LSTs.
And I'm Jay Beaver, the other preschool lead support teacher.
So they will take a few slides and share a little bit, but before we jump into this, just want to take a moment and make sure that you guys all know that this new classroom was just recently renovated to start this year. So Molly is super excited, and I think Carrie's already talking about her classroom envy. But Christy and I came with facilities last spring, and we're looking at going through all the buildings and looking at where we could expand, because our goal was to be able to have this space for 2 full-day preschool programs or 2 adequate preschool classrooms. And David walked me around, he's like, well, I'm thinking that we might move this one into a 2nd grade and this one might be, I was like, these are 2 classrooms, there's gonna be 1 for preschool. And they kind of looked at us, and it was like, we'll make it work, and they did. And we were able to knock a wall out, and they did some wonderful construction to have this awesome space. And so we're excited to be able to use some of the facilities money from 2.0 to be able to finish up some of these preschool classrooms. This is one of our new ones, and it is awesome. All right, so this afternoon we're going to talk a little bit about current enrollment, where we are today. One thing just to keep in mind is our preschool enrollment changes by the day, a little bit more so than we typically see in K through 12. And Christy will talk a little bit about that. But when we have students enrolling, especially as 3-year-olds, that changes frequently, as well as not everywhere offers preschool, especially full day. And so sometimes people will move into our community, or they'll hear a neighbor that's like, oh yeah, we go to full day at Penn, and it's like, wait, what is that? And so we continue to get requests. Christy is processing applications daily. And so our enrollment, and then of course, things may change, and some students might choose something else, or may have been on a wait list and didn't get into a site that they were looking for, and so our enrollment is fluctuating, and we'll go through that. Our teachers will talk a little bit about what a day in preschool looks like for full day and morning and afternoon, and then we'll wrap up with talking a little bit about our goals and what we want to continue to do as we expand our preschool offerings in the district. So Matt had shared earlier just a little bit about the importance of preschool, and research consistently shows that a high-quality preschool education has just insurmountable lasting impacts on kids in their future. I think all of us in here with early education and early childhood backgrounds have seen this firsthand, but being able to offer a high-quality experience for kids has all of these benefits. We know that students have a greater school readiness. We are hearing from our kindergarten teachers that students that did come to preschool, especially those experienced full day, that transition was much easier. I'm sure Deputy Superintendent Ramey, he has had children that have attended our preschools and have transitioned to kindergarten, so if we need any firsthand testaments, that's one thing I know he has shared. Research indicates that students that have high quality preschool score higher in math, reading, and language skills at school entry, and just have that increased ability to share, cooperate, and resolve conflicts. You'll hear a lot about engaging with students and students engaging with each other via play. And our teachers do such a phenomenal job of creating the conditions and the environment to allow students to experience collaboration, cooperation, problem solving in a natural environment. So we will talk through that this afternoon. And then again, we know that preschool provides opportunities for kids to follow directions and routines in a structured environment. So that is why we have continued to focus on the expansion of preschool. And a couple other pieces that we wanted to highlight. Effective preschools include well-trained teachers, stimulating curriculum, and supportive environments. And we feel that we have brought on a fantastic staff to help do just that and provide the well-trained, the teachers are very well-trained and provide the supportive environment to support development for the whole child.
So I'm going to explain the numbers a little bit, and this is where things start to fluctuate. Our enrollment changes pretty much on a daily basis. So at the end of last year, for our district classrooms only, we had 602 students enrolled. And when I say district classrooms only, I'm not including our community partners, where we had 3 community partner sites last year. So when I look at our Infinite Campus information that I pulled this information off of, we ended at 602 just across the district, our 20 buildings. This year we started with 602 students. That's pretty significant in the fact that we usually gain about 50 to 60 students per year throughout the year. So I would expect that that number will be increasing quite a bit throughout the year. So if I look at across the district and our community partners and our students that are coming to us from early access, we had over 600 students that were coming to us. We had 360 students that are full day this year. That's a huge jump from last year. We have 171 half day students, 31 community partner students, 71 half day 3-year-old students, and then we had about 20 students that were coming in from early childhood or early access, so they're coming in for evaluation, and we have room for them in our classrooms to take them as soon as they've been evaluated. We started this school year with 25 full day classrooms. We have 10 AM only classrooms. We have 6 PM only classrooms. And something that we did last year, toward the end of the year too, was we asked our before and after school programs to take our preschool students in their before and after school care. 12 programs said that they would do that, and so we're hoping to continue to do that next year with all of our before and after school care programs. We have not done that before. And we also have a partnership with Handy Care, so they used to be a community partner, but they're not this year because they lost their qualified teacher. So instead, we're having a partnership with them where they're providing some before and after school care for children at their site. So they're providing busing for students to and from various schools in Portland.
So just as a quick refresh, last year what was new about preschool is that every building had preschool. Previously to that, it was just if they had space. So last year was the first year that every building had at least an AM or a PM option. And then we had the 6 full day pilots, and we use that information to then expand to then this year that has the full day in every building.
So in our buildings, we have only 5 buildings that only have 1 preschool classroom now. So you think about 20 different buildings, 15 of those have 2 preschool classrooms in them.
I think the preschool teachers really like having, they're back there, yes. They really like finally having a teammate that they can collaborate and connect with.
Can you tell us more about the 6 p.m. option?
Like there's a PM option, it's available from noon to 2:55. We used to have AM, PM classrooms, so teachers could have up to 40 students in the classroom, 20 in the AM and 20 in the PM. So this year, PM is not as popular,
Okay.
so we reduced that number to 6.
Okay.
Yeah. So the statewide voluntary preschool program that is funded by the state does fund for half day, that's free. So then we offer the morning or afternoon if families want to select into the free half day option.
Right. So do we have, I probably should know this, but do we have busing for the programs? No, there's no, okay, all right, thank you.
Which is why being able to have preschool in home buildings was so great.
Being able to have preschool in home buildings and then offering the full day program, because it's not always practical for a lot of families to get their students from school at 10:45 in the morning when our AM program ends, and then bring students at noon to 2:55 PM. So we looked at our growth last year across preschool programs, and we run a report through GOLD, which is our required assessment that we use, and we finalize that 3 times per year. So at the end of the year, we ran our GOLD report to see if students were making expected growth. And we had 78 to 92% of our students across the board making adequate growth, and that is kindergarten readiness level, or that's what we would expect as kindergarten readiness level going into kindergarten the following year. And then we do have a set schedule, instructional routines that we try to have across buildings every day. So we want to make sure that we're guaranteeing the same type of program at Penn as we would at Longfellow or Lemmy. So making sure that we include all of the instructional components that would be through Creative Curriculum, which is our preschool framework. We added, so we have a half-day schedule here with all the activities, but we added to that last year to think about what our full day should look like. And then we added even more this year by thinking about what our large motor and outdoor time should look like for preschool, and Michelle will explain that a little bit.
So 2 new components to the full day program is a gross motor or a gymnasium time of day, where the full day students can have access to the gymnasium a couple times a week. It varies based on building schedules and whatnot. It could be a couple times a week up to daily. And so trying to remember how this was.
Yeah.
There are a few funding sources that we've been able to utilize with some of our additions, but we are very fortunate because this gross motor addition is funded by the Foundation's Big Ideas grants. So we were awarded $25,000 through the foundation to create 10 kits that travel around the district. There's actually a set of 10 kits that go to what we classify as the southern schools, and then this same set of 10 kits are also rotated amongst the northern schools. So in total we have 20 kits with 10 different themes, so that at every given point during the school year, our full day programs have a gross motor kit at their school that they can use in the gym time. The gymnasium gross motor program is not led by the physical education teacher in the building, but is led by the preschool teacher in support with the program para. So every 3-ish weeks, the preschool program gets a new kit that is filled with various materials to help build physical development and meet some of those standards and benchmarks that we're expected to watch them grow in. So this is just an example of the 10 different kits, and then at the end of the 3 weeks, the teacher packs up that gross motor kit, and then the secret elves around the district pick them up at the building and rotate them around, and then the preschool full day teacher gets a new kit for another 3 weeks. So at Longfellow right now we have music and movement for 3 weeks. There's lots of dancing and singing, piano, play pads, musical stepping stones, ribbons, tambourines, and we just go have a great time in the gym. And then in a week or so, we'll move on to the climbing and crawling kit, where there's a little mini rock wall, a tunnel that they can crawl under, different obstacle course things that they can do as well. So it's been a really great addition to our program to give them that coordinated time in the gym to be able to work on those big movement skills that they're developing.
Question, do you know how much one kit costs?
So, okay, so for the gross motor, it was 12,500.
Oh,
We'll
thank
show
you.
you the other one. But, yeah, so it was about 1,000, well, no, it was $600 a kit, right? So about $600 a kit. Is that
And
right?
please know these aren't like pre-made purchased kits.
Oh,
Our
yeah.
fantastic
Yes.
preschool team,
Yes.
Michelle, did not include, she used to be our lead support teacher for preschool halftime, but wanted to do one role at full-time instead of, she was preschool teacher halftime, lead support halftime. And so Christy J and Michelle put together this plan and then curated actually all the different items to create these kits. And so we'll be curious to hear from Amber and Molly, and just as the year goes, ones that are really popular, like we'll probably be replacing that rock climbing wall once it makes its way through 20 sites or 10 sites. But we'll get feedback on things that were loved, you know, that we want to purchase more of, or give us ideas that like that wasn't great. The other thing is there's lesson plans and
Yes.
guides in there that kind of let them know the different skills and how it aligns to the goal assessment, so that whenever teachers are in there, they can be thinking about different ways to utilize these materials.
The goal was we really wanted to give preschool teachers access to the gymnasium, but we wanted to provide it in a take and go kind of a way, so we weren't adding additional planning things to their plate. So those instructional materials include standards that they're covering, ways in which they can collect data for our gold assessment that's required by the state, as well as just lessons they can do on a daily basis, so each kid can support. And then, so that was the $12,500 was the funding we received for that, and then the outdoor play equipment was what we actually received from the Big Idea Hunt grant at $25,000. So each, outside the Big Idea Hunt grant, each building received a storage shed. In fact, if you look right up there, there is Penn's storage shed, and inside there are a variety, a plethora of play materials for students to be able to access during their outside playtime. So rather than just having access to the hard top, a couple balls and basketball hoop and a playground, they have access to walking stilts and pogo jumpers and balance beams. They also have access to things like little doll babies and baby strollers that they can push around the playground in the hard top to really work on that imaginative play and a creative play while they're outside. Large blocks that they can build with and kind of use their imagination while they're outside. So we created a 2-week rotation for teachers to be able to pull out certain activities and materials each day to really create a different opportunity for students every day, rather than playing with the same old every day.
So that's one of our Iowa Quality Preschool Program standards too, that we try to rate ourselves every year, and we have a desk audit every year where we look at what our environment is, and we look at indoor environment and outdoor environment, and one area that we were kind of falling behind on was dramatic play outside, because we had play structures and we had some play equipment, but really getting into dramatic play outside is incredibly important, and that's why it's part of our standards. So we added to it this year. So when we do our desk audit this year and we go around and rate ourselves on how we're doing with our physical environment, I'm guessing we'll be at 100%.
All right, so we wanted to offer Molly and Amber, Marcy and Jay, an opportunity, and Carrie, an opportunity to share just a little bit about what, now when you say like a typical day in preschool, what you think it's gonna look like and what it does look like is very different, but what preschool looks like for them. Whoever wants to go first.
A couple of those pictures, you can see the first one there, it's, we're getting ready for snack time. We have 2 snacks in the full day program. They sit at their assigned table and there's a choice. Hy-Vee delivers our snack every 2 weeks, so they get choices of fresh vegetables, fruits, and grains, crackers, and we just drink water. For that, then there's another, it's a writing center, so my class there was working on coloring a picture and looking at their names and writing those.
Some of the other pictures are just from center time, which is our free time that the preschoolers have to do their own thing, move around to the different center options we have, and during that time, they're able to work on our sharing skills, working with others.
So we do have a daily schedule that we follow, and I think one of the biggest perks of being a preschool teacher is we are able to shift around our schedule if needed to meet the needs of our students. Whereas some of the elementary classrooms are locked into their schedule, we are able to really make our day about our students. So we are able to mix active parts of our day where they're up and they're moving and they're able to have free choice, with some parts of teacher directed where they're asked to sit for short periods of time to listen to a story. And so just a variety to get them exposed to as many opportunities throughout the school day as possible.
So we were actually talking, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, Carrie. So we were actually talking yesterday about what kindergarten readiness means, because everybody talks about kindergarten readiness, and I feel like Carrie gave a really good description of what that means, because sometimes you think about kindergarten readiness and you're thinking about, oh, are they reading by the time they get out of preschool, or are they writing by the time they get out of preschool? But you shared some information.
When you come into a preschool classroom, it is going to look a lot different than even a kindergarten or first grade classroom. Their readiness is done primarily through play. So our small groups are going to be maybe teacher directed, or a paraeducator is leading a group, but something that I do at the beginning of the year is I pull a toy off the shelf and I'm teaching them, I'm modeling for them, I'm working with a small group of students how to use this material so that when they're exploring during our center time, they're able to then pull that material and possibly use it the way that I've done it, but it's also okay if they use it and explore it in a different way. So just doing a lot of modeling for our students, but allowing for them to be moving around and to have opportunities to be collaborating with peers and problem solving and using their creativity and imagination. And just because they're going to have to sit longer in kindergarten doesn't mean that we are going to be requiring them to sit. By the end of the year, I think our class shows us that they're able to sit for read-alouds and interact for longer periods of time because they've had the opportunity to build that foundation of the love of learning through a lot of different play experiences.
Just some more pictures of the fun things that happen in preschool. And so our goals for this year and then beyond is to begin expanding our offerings for 3-year-olds. So what 3-year-old preschool looks like right now is kind of what happens after 4-year-old preschool gets established. And so what we are required to do is provide preschool program for students who are eligible for special education on or after their 3rd birthday. So if a child is identified by early access, oh goodness, apparently I took too long. I'll just do this. This is the last slide. A child who's identified by early access, usually through Grantwood AA, maybe they were referred by a physician or a family made a referral. We will also, as the elementary school, it was not uncommon as a principal in my time that a family would come and say, like, I have a 2.5-year-old and I think that they're behind. Can you help me figure out how to navigate what to do next? We would always help make them their referral, the connection to Grantwood AEA. So once a student turns 3 on their 3rd birthday, if they have an IEP, they do start with us. And so what we have learned is that it can be really challenging for a student who is 3 years old, who may have some developmental delays, given that they have an individualized education plan, to then be learning in the same environment with a 4-year-old who maybe missed the cutoff for kindergarten by 3 days. We can imagine what that continuum might look like in the classroom. And so over the past few years, when we've had available spots and a family calls and says, I have a 3-year-old, do you have a preschool program for me? If we had spots available, we certainly wanted to be able to provide kids the opportunity to come to school. And so what we had been doing in the past is October was just kind of October 1st, after count, was kind of the day that we were like, okay, we have some spots, we will start to take 3-year-olds. What we were noticing is that there were families earlier that just wanted a half-day option that worked for their family. They wanted exposure to other children. They wanted the opportunity for their kids to interact. And we were saying, wait until October. We were losing a lot of students that wanted that opportunity. And so what we tried to do this year was, if we knew we were going to have spots, or we had already kind of filled that 4-year-old roster, because those filled up. We got families enrolled in preschool pretty quick. We did start to offer those earlier so that students, 3-year-olds, weren't coming in a month and a half behind, and the teachers were having to restart the routines and the process with a kid that was a year younger. And so we have started to think about how we would expand 3-year-old preschool with the goal that we would never do anything over half day for 3s. And kind of around the idea of once we have our 4-year-olds, and our priority is always providing that experience for 4-year-olds, and if there is space for 3s, we want to continue to see what that could look like for us. One thing that...
Let me kind of interject real quick.
Please do, yeah.
Our families actually lived both of those experiences. So when our middle child, who's now in kindergarten, was 3, Charlie had started at Lemmy, and so we really wanted to try to get Hazel into the preschool program. We knew there would be 3-year-olds on space available, but it didn't take them after count day. And so we started Hazel in a private preschool program, and she had actually just an awful experience. And we went away for fall break, and we came back, and there was a spot available. And so luckily, Hazel got into Ms. Ferris's class, and I mean, I can't say enough about how Hazel did, but it was tremendous. And then when Eloise got to the age this summer, it was very comforting knowing in June that Eloise was going to have a spot in the program. We didn't have to go through all the hoops of trying to get her into a private program or a digital program, but still cross our fingers hoping that when count day came, we would move her over to Lemmy. So I can just talk from firsthand experience just how beneficial that switch has been from a parent lens of knowing that, well, all 3 of my kids can be in the same school, even though they're in preschool, but also not having to play that game of, okay, is there going to be a spot, is there going to be a spot, just knowing that early on that was available. So it's a tremendous credit to the team for making those advancements.
What is the funding source for non-IEP 3-year-old preschool? Is it all tuition based?
All right, another place for expansion this year is before and after school programs for all preschoolers. Right now, as Christine talked about, we do have 12 sites that we're able to pull together before and after school care for our 4-year-olds. But next year, that will be something that will be offered in all of our buildings. Either with the community partner that we have, or figuring out how we can make that work with our staff. But we know that expanding to full day was huge for families, and then being able to have care outside of 3 o'clock has been huge for us. And so I know that in your guys' classes, I'm sure that you have several kids that go to the ASP, and being able to offer that everywhere, I think, is going to be great for our families to have that option. So we will be working on that this year. And then also exploring opportunities for preschool students to attend specials classes. Big news, that is big news. So we are just starting to kind of explore what that could look like. While we're excited to be able to have our preschoolers in the building, they just still experience their own teacher. And so we are continuing to look at what that could look like. We are going to explore every option from adding that to the staff that's there, or thinking through preschoolers can take a certain skill set, an advanced skill set of people. So preschoolers are not in the wheelhouse of an adult, sometimes that can be hard, especially a lot of our specialists, are licensed through 12th grade, so maybe like their first thought was they were gonna do secondary, and then all of a sudden here's a 4-year-old could feel a little bit like it might rock your world. So we're exploring all different options of what that could look like. Would we have a specialist that would be like, for example, like a PE teacher that would just do preschool, and they would go and travel a little bit more, but they would maybe have more of an understanding of the developmental skills of a 4-year-old. So we are just looking at exploring everything, because we want our kids in our buildings to be able to experience all the great things that we have to offer in the district, and so that is something that we're continuing to look for, which would then in turn provide some really increased opportunities for our preschool teachers to collaborate with each other. I know right now they're super excited to be able to have a colleague to have conversations with around preschool, to experience like an instructional rounds and seeing their classrooms and connect, and then just if they are able to then, kids are able to experience specials, that would allow the teachers to be able to do that during that time. So that's how we continue to think about preschool and where we see Christy and I and our team spending some time throughout this year.
Ruthina, before you go home and
I am
have
not
a long,
going
we do think that there might be some other benefits for our specialist teachers as well, as we, our specialist teachers currently travel to a lot of buildings. If they add sections to the buildings they serve in, there might be opportunities to travel, some more time with students. So there are also some ways that we can do this without a significant staffing and add to the budget too as well. So.
And the benefit for our preschool students is they're not in the same room almost all day long. They can get out in the building and know the building, be able to walk around and have the same expectations as other students.
My question slide, we're ready for you.
Yeah, since this is part of discussion at our last meeting with our unspent balance being below 5% right now, how much of our general fund is going to fund the preschool program this year? Are we still at general funds not covering any of it, or have we switched that, or is it too early to tell?
Yeah, I don't think we have any general fund impact because of the tuition model. I mean, that's one thing we've continued to monitor closely. When we started this, you imagine when we started this and some of the budget conditions we were in at that time, we had no cushion to be able to support preschool that way, and so this really had to make, we had to make the tuition model work and make that pencil out, and so we've been proud that's been able to do it. I mean, I think one thing we've been sensitive to that we continue to try to monitor is, not being a collection agency for families, but also making sure tuition's paid and that we do that, and so that's a tricky balance for us, or a careful balance, but yeah, we're not seeing any negative impact on the general fund. The question on transportation, I think Director Finch, you had asked that, that would be one that, just as we were doing the model initially, we couldn't make work, and so that's probably the give on that one.
Do parents have options of not using their home elementary school for the preschool? I'm just thinking of the way that it may be an easier drive to drop off my child up at Penn if I'm working in Cedar Rapids than it is.
Yeah,
we wanna talk about that.
preschool registration enrollment is different in that sense, is that we opened the application process in February, and just last year is when we started the centralized process for that, and families are allowed to select any of the buildings. And so they'll make a preference, usually their top 3 choices, and so they can select from any of the 20 buildings in a full day, in an AM, in a PM, and then Christy, I would say she works the magic, but they work tirelessly to go through the list and to place students. We do use a timestamp model, and so it is sort of like you got to get going and get your applications in. And then if someone doesn't get their first choice, we put them on in their second choice, and then we'll waitlist them in their first choice and come back. They are constantly reviewing that to get students that are maybe on a wait list in their second choice in their first choice if a spot does become available. And Christy and I were working all the way up till middle of July, even beginning of August. At one point, she was like, "Can we add one more section?" And I was like, "No, we're not doing it." Like, we hit the max. But we did end up adding a couple sections of full day, where we transitioned from a half day to full day, just given where we were seeing enrollment. Like, so exciting at Lucas Elementary, where we only had like 6 kids in preschool last year. We have 2 full day, just based off of where families were living and where they wanted to attend. We have 2 full days.
Grant, we opened that
At
the
very
end
end.
too, yes.
So we were just responding to that based off of where families wanted to enroll. I think we also take students from outside of the district, and so it's not as formal as of an open enrollment process as it is for kindergarten, but we did see that return this year for a majority of our preschool families that came from neighboring districts did then open enroll with us in kindergarten, and we're like, and I want to stay at the building I already did preschool at because we love the teachers. That's one thing we did see though, Director Lingo, is a lot of the families that maybe didn't attend the building where their attendance area is, once they came, they were hooked and they wanted to stay.
Yeah.
And so that's where we had to look through and.
We actually had that happen a couple of times just recently, because we do try to call people if their first choice opens up, and it is this domino effect, right? Like you call somebody and you know you're taking them out of this classroom, but then you might have somebody on this list that you want to call later. And I just called a family to say that a spot had opened up in their home school, and that was their first choice. And we're only like 3 days into school, so I'm thinking we're on top of this. And they said, we really love the building we're in. And the building was Lucas. I offered Hoover because that was their home school, and they said, we just really want to stay at Lucas. And I think that says a lot about how kind and caring our staff are and how they make people feel welcome immediately when they come in the building.
How does the policy work if the parent wants to, let's say this one question wants to stay at Lucas when your child goes into kindergarten? Have we crossed that bridge yet?
That's a conversation we probably need to have with you guys. I mean, like, our team has talked internally, honestly, that we need to have a team meeting about just kind of tackling what do we do. And I'll say this honestly, right, in an era of choice, what do we do with our current transfer policies, right? And is there some ability where we would want to look at those a little differently than we have in the past? Also knowing, some of the way some of the new legislation's been written and how we use also SES data, is our policy okay as written? I think we're fine for right now. But if we do enter into that conversation, that could create a question for us about what is inbounds and not inbounds. But I think that, we're in an environment of choice. Families want choice. Obviously, it has implications for us about where those numbers fall, how that looks. But I think what you anticipate, Director Lingo, is we'll probably internally talk about some things we feel okay about or some options, and then we probably owe you guys a conversation back to say, okay, based off of this, what are you all okay with, and what do you think our community wants in that regard? So it's an interesting question. I mean, because once a family gets attached to the campus, that's an important relationship that I think they'll want to maintain. Not that obviously we don't do a good job at the next campus, I think it goes well, but interesting question for us for sure.
Thank you for this presentation. I think about where we were when I started on the board 4 years ago and where we're at now, and your team has done just a phenomenal job. I want to give recognition to Director Williams for her work on this. It is just wonderful to see. So I just have a couple of questions. Number one, do we have any family involvement at all? Do parents come in during the day, or do you have any days where parents come in? Just curious, like what the family involvement looks like. And then also, I'm just curious about our data. We have data looking at kindergarten readiness and also that 3rd grade reading level, which is when kids transition from learning to read to reading to learn. Even if it's just anecdotal, just wondering what you can tell me about those 2 topics.
Yeah, I can take the
Okay.
latter one and a little bit of the first one, then I'll let the teachers kind of share their experience. But that is something that we're excited because right now, we're in the middle of our fall screening window. And so we have our data team that is able to pull students that attended our full day preschool. Now last year we piloted it, so we had it at 6 sites. But we know where those were, and so we're going to track those students to see how they performed on their kindergarten screeners. So we are just as excited and crossing our fingers and feel like we should see some data results there. So that's what we're doing right now, and then we're going to continue that process to monitor how our students' kindergarten readiness I'm sure preschool teachers feel just as much about that kindergarten readiness as I do. It's just this abstract term that I think people are they ready for kindergarten? Well, you know, as a former kindergarten teacher myself and all these early childhood expectations, kindergarten readiness is you're here and we're gonna do whatever we need to help and support you, right? Like, if you can sit quietly and keep your hands to yourself for 30 seconds, like, that's awesome. But kindergarten is the job of the kindergarten classroom. So kindergarten readiness is just really hard. But looking at that fall screening data, that's something that we are excited to monitor. We have the goal data, and while we don't get to select whether we use gold as an assessment or as BAS as an assessment, maybe we'd like to see an alignment a little better. We're doing our best to try to draw those connections and analyze that data. In terms of parent involvement, I will let these guys kind of talk. If you guys want to share just a teeny bit about what your first preschool starts a week later, then the rest of the school, they can tell you a little bit about why that occurs and what they're doing with families to engage them prior to the start of the year.
As part of the state voluntary program that preschool is, we do home visits. That's why we start a week later. We're required to go to either their family's house, or if they don't want to meet there, we go to a neutral location. And during that time, we get to know the families. During the Meet the Teacher night, it can be very chaotic with so many families in the classroom. So it's nice to have that one-on-one time for additional questions and get to know the families a little bit better to ease the first day of school. And you get to know the families pretty well through that.
Who goes with you on that home visit?
The para. So we always have someone with us.
Okay.
Hold on one second. Is there anything else that you guys want to share just around what you do to?
Just, we do parent-teacher conferences, just like our K-5 partners do as well. And then the other thing that I think is maybe a bonus to transportation not being an option is that I have the joy of getting to see face-to-face my parents at pick up and drop off every day. So even if it's a 30-second little anecdote about the child's day, good, bad, or ugly, we form such strong relationships through those little daily encounters that maybe we wouldn't get if they were being bussed in as well. And then we have access to talking points and all the other things that our district is utilizing to really build that community partnership. But I've been really, really grateful for those daily moments at pick up and drop off to just be able to, even just a wave. To know that we're on that same page and that same team together, I think does wonders to build that foundational partnership that we're working on in preschool.
It's a great conversation and great presentation. And I share the comments that the progress that's been made in the last 2 years is just phenomenal. And again, these deserve just a little credit supporting this. So we're now 600 plus students. We have 1,200 or so in each kindergarten class.
I wish. Close to 1,000.
1,000, okay. So do we need to get up to a full 1,000 in preschool? How are demographics doing with preschool now? And do we have is it a cost? It seems like it may be costly for parents to come to preschool to bring kids to preschool.
So I'll let these guys talk a little bit about demographics and cost. I mean, I think as far as ideal size, I mean, we want to serve any preschool student that wants to be served that we're going to serve in kindergarten, right, and families. And so, I mean, an active part of this conversation has been with the Child Care Coalition in the community because of the impact to child care and us taking on more 4-year-olds. We know it's an important enrollment strategy for us too. We've been pretty clear about that, just knowing, again, in an era of choice that we need to be recruiting on the front end. But I think, I'd have a hard time arguing that we wouldn't want to serve every kid we were going to see in kindergarten in our own preschool program, right? I think we deliver the best preschool program there is. And so I think that would, that's the ideal. Will we get every single one? I don't know, but I mean, I think we continue to exceed expectations with how many kids have enrolled, and so we'd like to see that continue. But do you guys want to talk a little bit about cost and then demographics?
Yeah. So all families have the opportunity to attend preschool regardless of their financial situation. So if a student would qualify for free or reduced lunch, they would qualify for free or reduced full day preschool. And then tuition for families that don't qualify is $650 a month. And so That is what our tuition assistance is. It's you're either full pay or on a free or reduced status. Chrissy, I don't know if she knows the numbers off the top of her head of the number of.
We have 151 tuition paying families, and that's 17 3-year-olds, and then the rest are 4-year-olds. Our students with IEPs go for free, and then all the other students we do get statewide voluntary preschool funding for half of that.
So the majority of students are free and reduced lunch.
Yeah.
During the home visits, I had a lot of parents saying the value of this is very affordable and they get a full day option and that was something that a lot of families shared with me.
Do you have what's the typical before and after? It's the 9 to 3 or whatever it may be, or 8 to 3. What is the typical wraparound cost? So it's $650, and then what would be on top of that, or what would be even the free and reduced lunch parents?
Great question. As I think you guys are all well aware, is our VASPs are outside providers that we partner with, and so we do not control their rates, and so it does fluctuate anywhere from about $210, $250 a month to about $315, $320 a month for after-school care. So that would be on top of, unfortunately, we can't control that. And there are so many scholarships from from CCI Child Care Assistance, and so that is, that can be cost prohibitive because there are not a lot of scholarships available for after school through CCA because they are trying to cover the school day, K through 5 students.
So Lisa's gonna kill us for continuing to brag on her, but I do wanna say something nice too, so I know she hates this stuff, but I mean, I think it just speaks to your impact as board members in general, right? I mean, like, when there's something you guys are passionate about or set a vision for the district, I mean, I just love it when we can execute that, right? And I think about like some of the faces that even changed, like some of the early meetings we had on this, it would have been Amy, it would have been Lisa Glenn sitting in those meetings, Les, from the finance side, and us trying to figure out how do we pencil this out and make this work, and then to see where we're at today. And so continuing to hold that this is important to us, that we know it's good for kids, we're gonna continue to make it work, but to push us, at a time where we were really unsure about how we could make it happen, I think was critically important. And so we do make things happen, so we should feel really good about this one.
BASP and 3-year-olds, we have it attending now, and could that be like a 2027 goal?
So we don't have any because most of our 3-year-olds, I believe, are in the morning, and so that's done at 10:45. And so
It does change the ratio that you have to have in for an after-school care too, so it makes.
I'm just wondering if the goal is to offer expanded all-day 3-year-old
our
tuition
goal
rates.
is not to offer expanded full day.
Oh, just
It's
half
to stay
day.
with the half day.
Oh, okay.
But be able to maybe have some more designated 3-year-old classrooms
Okay.
to not have such a wide range of 3-year-old that has an IEP too.
So some of our students with IEPs, when they're 3 and they're coming in late, and like Eliza said, we can have a 3-year-old for 3 years because they're coming in after the cutoff date, so that's 1 year. The second year would be considered their 3-year-old year, and then the third year could be their 4-year-old year. So having someone to have peers in a classroom makes such a big difference, rather than having a 5-year-old with a student that might be functioning at an 18-month-old level.
So the plan is not to roll out a full, when it says expand 3-year-old offering, it's not to come into the 3-year-old market.
No. Our goal is to provide opportunities for 3-year-olds that just want that half-day experience. We don't have any plans unless we're directed to do so, to expand that full day. The full day, we really want to continue to expand that for 4-year-olds. And then with the 3-year-olds, if we could get to a place where we have a couple 3-year-old designated classrooms across the district, maybe a couple in each attendance area, that would really help out for our 3-year-olds, just knowing that development is expansive.
Is the half day and the full day? Are they independent classrooms, or the class is open the whole day and kids are dropping in and out of it?
Love that question, Sean. Both.
Oh.
There were, if we, at some buildings where we only have the full day classroom, and a family, that's their home building, they really want to go there but only want AM only, they attend just for the AM.
So that would be my classroom. Yeah, I have currently 18. I will have 20 students come October. 5 go home at 10:45. Some are 3-year-old IEP students. Some are 4-year-olds that are just, their family is choosing to just do the half-day program. So we do the bulk of those instructional minutes in the morning. They still get that play time. They still get all of that. But then the components they're missing are not necessarily components in the afternoon that are those required pieces. But we don't have any PM kids that come into our full day classrooms. If there is a PM section, it's just like Molly, who teaches AM in the morning, her AM kids go home, and then PM comes in the afternoon, it's just PM. But there are
options.
There are a few of us out there.
I was just wondering, you know, like, is that disruptive at that point where kids are getting picked up at?
It was a little tricky to start. I can't say that it's not necessarily disruption, but we had to be very thoughtful about when we're thinking about our outdoor time, because that's a really good time for parents to come. So how does that work for you?
Yeah, it's just a scheduling logistic component, working with the building principal to really figure out how are we meeting those instructional minutes while still giving a really solid, creative, play-based learning experience. I had my AM only students crying because they couldn't stay all day, and my full day students crying because they couldn't go home the first day of school. We worked that all out, and they are all very, they love each other, and so they're excited when they say goodbye to their AM only friends now, and they're excited to continue their day, and it all works out. But there was a little bit of confusion at the little preschool level those first few days as well, as why is Johnny's mommy here and mine is not. So, well, we got through it.
We have had a couple of families that have switched from AM only to full day after they've had that experience, and they don't, their child doesn't want to leave at the time that they're supposed to, so it's worked out really well.
I know we're running out of time, but just wanted to share it while Mr. Brandon, who's our principal here at Penn, is adding on preschool has also been a learning curve for them as well. And they have been fantastic in terms of we're continuing to learn about the new early childhood standards, where some principals have never had preschool, and so learning just how to support the collaborative teams for the PLC process. David, I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to share. Just, I know preschool is not brand new to Penn, but just the structure, anything you want to share about having that in your building now?
I just think I think it's mutually beneficial. One, we know it's really good for parents. They want, if you've got multiple kids, varying levels, you have one place to drop off. But also, I think it's great, like, older siblings love to see their younger siblings here, and it's the cutest thing when you see them, like, together, excited to see each other, run and do the hugs and stuff like that. I think it's great that way. Also, it gives our kids, like, we do like buddy activities, so they get to be buddies with younger kids, and I think it's great to see that as well. But then I also love that kids are in there getting connected with their school. So, like, they're starting to build that pride in their elementary school. So I think that's just been a wonderful thing for us as we expand. And then we've only had one collaborative team meeting with Amber and Molly, but like just sitting down and it was like their excitement to have a teammate. I was like, never thought about that before. But yeah, that's really great. You're the singleton now, you know. So I think it's also great for the teachers. And like logistically for us, I don't think it didn't drastically change things. You know, we had to think a little differently about like pick up and drop off, you know, about that, or some of the large motor times. But I think overall to the building, it's just really enhanced it. It hasn't like made it more challenging. I think it's better for parents, and it's better for teachers and kids. So I think it's been a great addition.
It's been a great presentation, very encouraging. So it's 5:30. Anything else we should do? Next meeting is
October 21, yes.
Stuck in time. It's frozen. Great.
the motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.